Welcome to a special featured episode of the Human Node powered by Human and Capital Copilot. Today we're exploring a market that tries to make the invisible accountable: carbon credits, not as ideology, not as hype, but as a real financial system, one that sits at the intersection of climate science, global capital, and now blockchain infrastructure. And if you're listening because you're asking, how do we scale climate impact without breaking trust? You're exactly where you need to be. Carbon credits emerged from international climate policy. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, explains that the Kyoto Protocol, adopted in 1997, created mechanisms allowing emissions reductions to be measured, verified, and traded to help countries meet climate commitments. As the UNFCCC states directly, the Clean Development Mechanism allows emission reduction projects in developing countries to earn Certified Emission Reduction (CER) credits, each equivalent to 1 ton of CO2. This is the origin of the carbon credit as a financial instrument, a standardized unit representing 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide equivalent reduced or removed. The logic was simple. If emissions reductions could be quantified, capital could flow to the lowest cost, highest impact opportunities globally. Fast forward to today. According to Ecosystem Marketplace, one of the most trusted carbon market research outlets, the voluntary carbon market saw its value fall to $723 million in 2023, down from $1.89 billion in 2022, as buyers paused amid integrity concerns. They further report the average price paid per ton in 2023 was $6.53. This matters because it tells us something essential. The market is not collapsing, it is resetting. Integrity is being renegotiated in real time. Let's talk about real purchases. Reuters reported in 2024, Microsoft has agreed to buy carbon removal credits equivalent to 6.75 million metric tons of carbon dioxide over 15 years from a project in Louisiana. And TechCrunch reported later, Microsoft has agreed to purchase 3.6 million carbon removal credits from a bioenergy carbon capture project developed by C2X. This is not symbolic buying. This is long-term, balance sheet level procurement of carbon removal, not just avoidance. The signal is clear. The future market favors durable, verifiable removal. According to Allied Offset's 2023 Corporate Buyers Report, the largest buyers by credits retired include Shell, which retired 15.7 million credits; Volkswagen, with 4.1 million credits; Takeda, with 2.8 million credits, notably at higher average prices; Audi and Terpel, both retiring millions of credits, Allied Offset states. Corporate demand remains concentrated among a relatively small number of large buyers, with price sensitivity varying widely depending on sector and strategy. Translation: this is still an early market with uneven sophistication and enormous room for better infrastructure. Now let's talk trajectory. McKinsey and Company, referencing the Task Force on Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets, states demand for voluntary carbon credits could increase by a factor of 15 by 2030. And further, the voluntary carbon market could reach a value of up to $50 billion by 2030. Meanwhile, the World Bank reports carbon pricing revenues reached a record $104 billion in 2023. This tells us something crucial. Carbon is already a priced asset class. It is just unevenly modernized. Now, blockchain. This is where excitement must meet discipline. Verra, the world's largest carbon registry, stated plainly, Verra will not allow retired credits to be tokenized, as retirement represents the use of the environmental benefit. This sentence is everything. It means blockchain must not create double claims. But when designed correctly, tokenization can improve traceability, improve settlement speed, improve transparency, improve access to climate finance. As Reuters noted in coverage of digital carbon markets, proponents say blockchain could help track ownership and prevent double counting, but critics warn standards must come first. So here's the truth. Blockchain does not fix carbon markets. governance does. Blockchain scales governance when aligned correctly. Now I'm going to slow this down and read directly from an educational framework that matters for anyone serious about this market. Types of carbon credits and what they mean. Carbon credits are not all the same. Their type depends on how the carbon emissions are reduced, avoided, or removed, and whether they're used in compliance or voluntary markets. 1. Compliance carbon credits. These are part of regulated cap and trade systems run by governments or authorities. Companies under emissions caps must surrender credits to comply with legal limits. Examples include EU allowances, EUAs, traded under the EU Emissions Trading System California Carbon Allowances, CCAs, for California's cap and trade. Other regional programs like RGGI, U.S. Northeast, and Article 6.4 units under the Paris Agreement framework. Compliance credits function as permission slips to emit a set amount, and trading takes place primarily on regulated exchanges or broker networks. 2. Voluntary carbon credits. These are purchased by companies or individuals by choice, not because laws require them. Most voluntary credits are generated by project developers and certified by independent standards to ensure impact. Common voluntary credit standards include Verified Carbon Standard, VCS, administered by Verra, with 1.3 plus billion credits issued and hundreds of millions retired to date. Gold Standard focuses on environmental and sustainable development integrity. American Carbon Registry, ACR, Plan Vivo, Puro Standard, etc., each with its own methodology and registry tracking. These credits represent emissions avoided, reduced, or removed beyond what would have happened otherwise. Major carbon credit types by project category. Carbon credits originate from different project activities. Here are the most common: avoidance, reduction. These credits come from projects that prevent emissions that would otherwise occur, such as renewable energy, wind, solar, methane capture from landfills or agriculture. These are typical of voluntary credits meant to offset emissions. Removal, sequestration. These credits represent actual removal of CO2 from the atmosphere, reforestation or afforestation soil, carbon sequestration, direct air capture, DAC, bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, BECCS. The Puro Standard, for example, issues core keys only after rigorous third-party verification confirming true carbon net negative results. Compliance era credits. These are older credits like Certified Emission Reductions, CERs, from the Kyoto Protocol's Clean Development Mechanism, which could be used in some compliance schemes. CERs are tradable and can be bought on secondary markets. How carbon credits are purchased and validated, how purchases work on registries and exchanges, like Expansive or CarbonMark. Buyers can search live listings, choose a project type, and purchase credits at listed prices. On voluntary portals, UN Carbon Offset Platform, VCM, companies or individuals can directly buy credits to offset their emissions. Over-the-counter deals often occur with brokers or project developers, especially for large corporate purchases. How credits are validated. Validation and verification are essential to making sure a carbon credit actually represents a real climate benefit. Standards, third-party protocols. Programs like VCS and Gold Standard set rules for project documentation, measurement, monitoring, and credit issuance. Registries. Entities like the Climate Action Reserve or Verra issue credits and track them with serial numbers so the same credit can't be sold twice. Verification audits. Independent assessors review project data to ensure additionality, correct baselines, and accurate measurement before credits are issued. Retirement. When a buyer uses the credit is retired on the registry ledger, so it cannot be resold. Now here's the question that determines everything. How does this industry grow and stay respected? Here is a grounded recommendation framework. One, anchor growth to registries, not narratives. No credit should trade without registry anchored identity, clear issuance status, and visible retirement mechanics. 2. Shift capital from offsets to infrastructure. The next wave of value comes from financing MRV, verification, and project development, not just buying credits after the fact. 3. Treat blockchain as plumbing, not a product. Blockchain should be invisible to the end user, serving transparency, auditability, and settlement, not speculation. 4. Price quality explicitly. Markets must differentiate price by permanence, additionality, and verification rigor, not lump credits together. 5. Build public trust dashboards. If citizens and regulators can't see impact clearly, legitimacy erodes. Radical transparency becomes competitive advantage. If these principles are followed, carbon markets don't just grow, they mature. Carbon credits are not the end goal. They are a training ground for humanity learning how to price responsibility, steward shared resources, and align money with meaning. And human exists because the future economy must reward contribution, coherence, and care, not extraction alone. I'll leave you with a rarely shared line from the ancient scholar Al-Farabi. The virtuous city is one in which cooperation leads its people toward true happiness. This has been The Human Node, a special featured episode on the future of tokenizing carbon credits. Thanks for listening, and check us out at humn.world. Many thanks to our partners at Capital Copilot.